Hello, everybody. I wish you well. I hope you're doing fairly okay. I'm existing. I am doing my best. So, I wanted to at least attempt to move into a new format of video, or podcast, honestly, where I'm taking I Can't Shut Up Unless You Tell Me To, and actually doing something with it now. It's been, God, how long has it been since I last put out an episode under this podcast? Jesus, March 22nd. Oh, Lord, mama. Anywho, I'm trying to get a podcast out daily, or semi-daily, and this is the first thing I'm going to be doing with this. We're going to start by the way this format's going to roll is I'm going to do an intro, say how are you doing, and then I'm going to record segments throughout the day. That way, I'm able to, have something longer than just 10 minutes, something that allows you to listen to something that feels a little more meaningful that you can listen to throughout the entirety of your day. At least as far as I'm concerned. In admittedly sad news, we have to talk about APIs and the end of Web 2.0. So, for those who don't remember what Web 2.0 is, let me paint a picture. See, back in the day, in the late 2010s, or not 2010s, in the mid to late 2000s, websites in apps basically had these things called application programming interfaces, or APIs. APIs are in fact what I personally build for my job, and a lot of these places like Twitter, Reddit, YouTube all had public-facing APIs that allowed people to build fun little tools. Tom Scott, the YouTuber, has a fun little video going into this in more depth. You can usually find it under his video, which is this video has insert number here amount of views, which is in itself an allegory to YouTube's API, and that eventually that will break too. And what am I talking about APIs? Well, so after Elon Musk started charging, admittedly out the ass, for the ability to create things using data begotten from their API, another large repository of internet history is now doing the same. Reddit is now applying a they're basically announcing after Twitter, charging exorbitant fees for their API, they're now wanting to charge for API access as well. And there's a lot of people, including the iOS app Apollo, which is what people consider to be one of the best, if not the best, way to read Reddit on mobile, are saying that the amount of API it will price out the problem with Twitter when what they did was the API costs were so exorbitant that it effectively priced everybody out of the market. Because here's the thing about APIs interacting with things like social media. Not everything that you build is going to, and you'd use for it, is going to be super duper useful. Sometimes they're just fun. There's bots that wait for the make it a quote bot, which is a Twitter bot that will, if you make it a quote, it will yoink whatever somebody, the tweet that somebody tagged that under, with a picture with the person's profile pic, and it'll make a photo of it. It's pretty cool. But you can't build things like that, especially if they make no money and you don't have a business around them to offset the cost of the API calls. And now Reddit, which is, I would argue, has been around longer and is an even larger repository for internet history, is now doing this. So I want to like make it clear here that Twitter charges $42,000 for 50 million tweets. Now, don't get me wrong, 50 million tweets is a lot, but if you're like running a business, like that can be an exorbitant amount. And a site like Imager, a site similar to Reddit in its user base and media, like for 50 million API calls, it's $166. See, what Reddit is doing is, because Twitter was able to charge an exorbitant amount for per API call, and let me see if I can pull up that call. So just to be clear, if you are building an app that you want to build an app to, like, just say you wanted to build a Twitter app or something that you could, in theory, I don't know, every time someone tweets the word moist, you just quote tweet it. Something stupid like that. You can call it MoistBot, right? You don't know how many times like something like that is going to get called. But for a basic, which can only like post 3,000 tweets a month, and you can only like here. If you, it's disgusting. It's at this point I'm getting rambly because I'm just looking at the costs of what they're asking for a lot of this shit, and it is patently disgusting. So if you go to r/Reddit, like their actual Reddit thing, they're basically charging a lot more than what they need to like what places like Imager and even YouTube do with their API costs is they keep it low. Like, I could make something for personal use with YouTube and it would cost me probably a fraction of a dollar, if anything at all. But what Twitter ended up doing is they ended up hiking up the cost for API calls, pricing out like small developers out of the market. And I want to remind you that things like Twitter's API and Reddit's API are part of what make sites like these so fun. You're able to like build something cool and like launch it and just go have fun. It's great. But you're screwed otherwise. I know this has been a rambly 6-7 minute segment, but I just wanted to bring up this because Web 2.0 allows us to have access to lots of really awesome, interesting pieces of technology that essentially now we're not going to have access to, and we're not going to be able to make anything new with it either because of corporate greed. The end of Web 2.0 is like the end of like the internet hasn't been free for a very long time, and the end of like cheap or free access to like APIs to build fun little tools and stuff, that's kind of like the last bastion of freedom on the internet. And it sucks. It doesn't have to be this way. I wanted to take a second just to vent a little bit of frustration I have. I am next week my job is going to be shuffling the teams. They're adding 2 new teams to our section with a new scrum lead or a new project manager, a new manager. And, they're sort of like, we're learning all about that Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And I'm frustrated mainly because, like, the only reason I've been able to, like, be okay in this job is because I've had the support of amazing coworkers. who have kind of helped me pick up for my shortcomings, because I've kind of been railroaded into, picking up levels of work that I wasn't ready to, and I'm just been constantly playing catch up at my job. It's frustrating, and I brought this up to my manager, albeit probably too late, a month and a half ago. But even so, none of his behavior in terms of, I just haven't gotten the support I need from him to, be better. And, I know you can't trust your manager, you can't trust your employer, I get that, but it's the job market's scuffed right now. And I'm looking for other places, and in fact, the only reason I was still at this job was because the team I'm on is amazing. I just don't want to lose this job and be caught unemployed, because at that point, I'm just going to end up live streaming for 8 hours every day, and then living off my credit cards until, my credit cards run out, and then I kill myself. That's the reality I have of what's going to wait for me if I'm not able to, get different employment. It just sucks. And I just threw up. Ugh, this day cannot get any worse. I hate everything. One of the things that always kind of bugged me about, the current Master Duel tier element meta is that it feels like the worst way to play the deck, is stock, in my personal opinion. Yes, you can run the. I personally run tier element Sprite, because one of the things I've noticed, especially with Bestials releasing in 7 days, is that being able to do things without necessarily having to just effectively get the equivalent of a go fuck yourself is great. Yes, if you don't play smart, you can potentially run the risk of what is effectively essentially locking yourself into level 2s before you're able to do everything you need to do. But more often than not, I don't feel like that's really much of an issue when you're playing with the tier elements stuff and you're getting to the higher levels. I gotta be honest, it's really unfun to if you open worse than your opponent who's playing in the mirror, you're kind of borked. But being able to run an extra deck that runs all the tier element stuff, but also is able to run some of the sprite stuff too, is really awesome. Being able to end on a fat board with Root Kolos, Kaleidoheart, and maybe want the Sulik in your thing is great, but also being able to pair that with the possibility of but being able to also pair that with something like a combo of Elf and IP Masquerena on your field subsequently is also pretty awesome, if I'm being honest. You're able to, yes, you are more likely to break it. It's a little less consistent, but the amount of explosive end boards that you can get are great. Chara, my moderator, patently disagrees with me, which, on some level I tacitly agree with. It's certainly not as strong, but, the deck can, survive against, a set, what's it called? Dimension Fisher, and still live to tell the tale. I'm supportive of it. I'm, not against it in any way, shape, or form. And frankly, it's pretty awesome. I like it a lot. I say this as I, go through my tier element line on my lunch break, even though I'm split my lunch break in two here. Honestly, I'm just waiting for somebody to get back to me so I can finish my story. don't understand what the fuck is going on in conservatives' brains. Like, listen, I understand, like, the layman is, like, I understand what's going on, like the high level, like the tier 4 conservatives, like a Ben Shapiro, like, they're not even tier 4, the tier 5s, like the rich douchebags. The rich douchebags, their whole purpose is to stoke culture war nonsense for the purposes of effectively, like, making it so working class people can't coalition build. You know, if you get a bunch of, you know, white working class people to hate, you know, black and brown and gay people, or just people who are just othered, you know, in their eyes, you then are able to, like, run away with all the money. And I was just talking to a buddy of mine, and she said, like, oh, today, and like she kind of, like, made a really valid point being, like, what's going to end up happening economically is that it's going to get bad enough that, like, we're like that, like, the rich people are going to be, like, shaking in their boots because we're about to, you know, start chopping heads off and shit, and then they're going to basically use the lattice of government to say, all right, fine, universal health care, universal housing, you know, yeah, you don't like, we're not going to hold the risk of homelessness over your head to force you to work jobs you hate anymore. Like, yeah, like, that's going to be the fucking thing, you know? And it's just seeing all of this nonsense with, like, the conservative culture war bullshit. Like, only, like, realistically 25% of the country is, like, on board with this shit, and it's centralized in, like, 11 places. It's insane. And we're eventually going to get to a point where, like, it does not matter how much they fucking hate black people or gay people. It doesn't matter how much they want they want to keep their little village a sundown town. Like, eventually the economic issues are going to fuck them in the ass so bad that they're just going to have to get on board. Like, unfortunately, I'm not willing to wait that long, because it's going to, like, take for, like, what we'll lose while waiting for old white racists to get over them fucking selves is going to be way too long. But I mean, I say this just to say, like, it's inevitable. It's going to happen eventually. It might not happen as quick as we want it to, and certainly as quick as it needs to happen, but fuck me if it's, you know, this isn't going to be the same way forever. Like, it already happened once. FDR's New Deal was the product of a bunch of rich assholes realizing, oh fuck, the U.S. is going to fall to a communist revolution if we don't fix our shit. And that was the compromise of the New Deal. The government pays for people's jobs, it pays for social safety nets, it subsidizes housing for people, only white people, of course. And lo and behold, like, rich people get to keep their fucking money. I don't know. It's just a fucking old thing.